Are you ready? Hey there, you are listening to Thynktank Millionaire Podcast, where on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you get an unfiltered, raw, and authentic conversation about the challenges of being an entrepreneur and tips and tricks on how you can scale your business to the next level. If you are looking to scale your business, then get ready to buckle up. Introducing our host, Alexa D'Agostino.
Welcome to Thynktank's Millionaire Podcast, a podcast where you have real entrepreneurs talking about real problems and giving you real solutions to fix them to help you scale and get to the next level. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexa D'Agostino. I'm your host of Millionaire Podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing how to get your head out of your own ass, which is kind of a fun topic. Today, I have my two co-hosts and my two business partners, Susie and Tanya. So if you've been following us, you know that they're badasses. They're just go Google them. They're just insane. And today, we have a special guest, Sharon. She started as a client in our coaching program, and now a year later has tripled her business. And now we actually do a lot of business together. And it's a good example of putting yourself at the table with people who can give you business. And that's exactly what she did, really intelligently and not in a forceful way, by the way. She made us, fall in love with her as a business person and want to work with her. And that's it. She did it beautifully. So well done. And I'm excited for you to hear her journey and how she has gotten to where she is today, and what an accomplishment and what an incredible story that she has for you. I think you're going to all learn a lot. So Sharon, can you introduce yourself and tell our audience about what you do and who you are?
Thank you for that nice intro, Alexa. My name is Sharon Njai, and I am a marketing copywriter and project manager. And like Alexa said, she didn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I had my head totally in my ass for a long time. But I would say where I was a year ago, I was spending a lot of time on Instagram and not doing a lot of client work and therefore not having a lot of money. But slowly over time, being introduced to Alexa, Tanya, Susie changed my life completely. And now I am happy to say that we have a lot of clients, we have a lot of prosperity, and we're doing good. And my head is on top of my body now.
So happy that it's not in your ass anymore. So talking about today's topic, we're discussing how to get your head out of your ass. So if you have your head in your ass, this is a great episode to listen to, because we're going to discuss how do you get it out. And I don't care who you are. Like, I'm an 8-figure entrepreneur and my head is in my ass all the time. So you need to have ways to get it out. It doesn't matter who you are. You get in your own way. That's just what happens as entrepreneurs and as people. And it's really, really important for you to have the tools and the skills to understand how to get out of your own way, because we all do, right? I mean, have any of you not gotten in your own way before? Right? Like,
you mean since yesterday?
Yeah, like yesterday I was in my own way. There's a lot that happens and goes on in your life and your personal life. And, there's always going to be a time in your life where you get in your own way, and you need to be able to get. So guys, why do we think as entrepreneurs, we get in our own way and limit our own success? Like, what are your thoughts?
I'll dive in there. I think we get in our own way because we believe the stories we tell ourselves. We tangled up in the perfectionism, the procrastination, the BS in our head. And as a result, we start listening to that. And as if you spend any time with me, you know that I'm all about what you say when you talk to yourself. And so if you're telling yourself stories about it has to be perfect before it goes out. I mean, again, I'm all about excellence. Proofread, do the work, but have the guts to press ship, to send, to do the next step to get you further on the road. And I think a lot of it is this inner dialogue of old stories or people's expectations, and we don't risk failure. And I think that's such an important piece. If we're willing to risk failure and we look at failure as an opportunity to learn, somebody said the acronym was for all I learned, FAIL. And I think that is a place where, at least for me, I've gotten in my own way, and I've, been slogging through quicksand because I just listened to the wrong people. A lot of them are the boardroom in my head. And so getting around people who are, moving in the direction I want to go has been instrumental for me. But yeah, not being afraid to fail.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo what you said, Susie. And, I would say for me, one of the more recent times I've had my head where it shouldn't be is I didn't know what to do. And, I was paralyzed in my head thinking, oh, well, can I do that? And the imposter syndrome, comes in strong. And, when you're listening to all those folks in the back of your head, it's confusing, then you don't take action at all.
I love how Sharon, you're so polite about it. Where my head shouldn't be, where I'm like, get it out of your ass. Sharon's like, where should it be? Well, you could tell the difference of the two of us. Aren't you so happy that you signed up for this episode?
Best episode
ever.
What I think is so important to remember is it's not who we are that holds us back. It's who we think we're not, right? And something that Susie always says, right? She's like, who do you need to be right now to get to where you want to go? And I think that's the big point is that, a lot of times as entrepreneurs in the beginning, before we make that mind shift, we focus on the problems, right? So if we want to give power and energy to the solutions, that's a mind shift that can then take it from, wow, I'm a procrastinator, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I have imposter syndrome. So now what's the solution, right? Now procrastination, like perfectionism, like to the finest, like ADD times 10, right? Like not getting stuff done, failure of rejection. The moment that I focus more on the solutions and how to get over that hump, and like Susie said, surround myself with people who have had the same, struggles and how they got over it, right? So like if I had to make steps, to be like first defining what, identifying the speed bump, because sometimes we don't even realize it, right? And then put something in place. What are we going to do to prevent it? Right. And then how are we going to implement, and then how are we going to sustain it? Because this is a vicious cycle. They say 20 days, you got to do something. And then up to a year, it takes
20 days. Yeah. For it to be a habit.
Yeah. And then 20.
Susie's probably, that's not it.
What is it, Susie? Tell me what it is.
I can read it in your face.
It's now actually 65 to 365.
Holy crap.
A year.
It's that whole idea of rewiring your neurons together.
I sense from like all of you, you're talking a lot about fear. Fear keeps coming up, right? And it sounds like fear is definitely a large reason why we get in our own way. And as you said, Tanya, sometimes as entrepreneurs, because of fear, we'd rather focus on the problems and not solving the problems, but dwelling on the problems, because it's easier to fail if there's major problems that weren't your fault, right? So like, what do you, in your opinion, I would love to know what you guys think. Like, what can we do to make sure that fear does not get in the way of us being successful?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, Alexa, that, fear is definitely the driver, and I mean, it's proven, I'm sure Susie can attest to that with neuroscience. But yeah, the imposter syndrome, as we said, but also the fear of like not even knowing what's possible. Like I remember back before I joined Thynktank, I didn't even know what I could do to help people. And I was so paralyzed, and I thought, well, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and I'm going to be living alone on the street. I'm going to eat cat food, and I'm not going to be able to afford toilet paper. And it was just like a very bad downhill spiral. But then, to have somebody that says, well, actually, this is possible. And, it speaks to the point that we brought up before about surrounding ourselves with those who can lift us up, who can show us a roadmap and say, well, actually, these, you can do this, this, and this. Because when we're in that state, we can't see outside the tunnel that we've created in our heads. And we don't even know that there's many, many solutions.
The thing that stands out in my mind the most, Sharon, about you was last Christmas, you said something very specific that I think kind of kicked you in your own ass, but also kicked me in my ass. And I don't know that you know this, but this one conversation you and I had is actually a really large reason why I really, push passion forward in our coaching program. So we were on a call, and you said to me, you go, Alexa, my daughter came to me and said, Mom, can we have lobster for Christmas? And you like teared up. You go, Alexa, I can't even afford that. Right. And then we worked together, about a month, and you had some wins. And I remember a couple weeks later, or a month later, we were on a call, and you said, I want you to know that we had lobster last night. And I want to thank you for allowing me to afford a lobster for my baby girl. And I actually I'll be vulnerable. Like, I totally cried after that call, because it just meant so much to see somebody like you who is just so freaking talented. People, like, for everybody listening, if you need a writer and a marketer, like, Sharon is freaking incredible. I literally bring her onto my marketing projects because she's so good. You are so talented, and people just need to know about you and how good you are at what you do. And that honestly was a pivotal moment in my career. So as much as you've learned from me, like you have given me just as much. And that will forever be the one conversation that really was pivotal. So I want to thank you because it really changed passion, and passion is, where it is. And that conversation was a big part of it. So
thank you for remembering.
I know.
I think it is, that word vulnerability, right? So when we get in our own way, I think we have to look inside ourselves and be a little vulnerable and call ourselves out, like, and really take responsibility, right? For that internal chat that we're having with ourselves, for that fear of failure, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not failure itself that holds us back. It's the fear of the failure that paralyzes us. So if we can change our perspective, right? And the way that we look at failure and say, you know what, failure is not a bad thing. It's actually, it's what helps us to grow. It's what helps us to expand and then go outward and upward, because in those moments are when we learn, right? And that's when we grow. And that's when we rise above, and then we see ourselves with the people that have been there as well, right? So, but without failure, we really couldn't grow. We'd just be kind of stagnant where we are, right?
I also think to follow up and kind of just really put an exclamation point on what you both said is we get all tangled up in fear. And I think if we can use fear as fuel, like our brains are wired to see fear. Like, I want to be afraid if it's, a dark, rainy alley, and fear gets my body going in the direction it has to go to protect me. And so I think we have to say, I always tell my clients, jump scared. I jumped off this 55-foot cliff in Hawaii years ago because it was on my bucket list. And I'm standing at the top of the cliff looking down, and there's a big, beautiful sea turtle that swims by. And I was afraid. I felt the fear and did it anyway. There's a great book by that, but I truncated to jump scared. So if you're feeling fear, just pause a minute, take a breath, what's the fear? Is it a legitimate fear? Because our brains have evolved. And maybe it's like, I'm afraid of what the universal they are going to say. And like, that's not a legitimate fear. I don't want us to think, oh, I'm never going to be afraid. That's how you succeed. No, I think the most successful people, especially with the women on the screen, do it anyway. They jump scared. They feel the fear and they're like, I'm not going to let this fear stop me because it's a false fear. And again, another acronym, false evidence appearing real. And so when we can get out of our own way and say, you know what? Yes, this is a feeling, but a feeling doesn't have to guide me. I'm in this room, grown-ass woman, and I'm going to take my fear and say, not today.
I love that. And I'm laughing because there's actually a really relevant recent story. So we went snow tubing last weekend, and Steph and I were like looking down the hill, and the fear on our faces were like real. And then we look at Madeline. She's like, let's go. My daughter's 21 months old, for everybody that's listening. She's like, let's go. And she was so excited to go down this mountain. And Steph and I are like scared out of our minds looking at it. So it's kind of funny how kids literally almost have no fear because they don't know. And we talk about taking a risk, and we don't because of fear. But, I think that there's certain levels of risk too. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday about financials. Like there's certain risks that you have to take, but if you risk, like if you have a whole hand and you risk the whole hand, then you're screwed. But if you have 10 things going and you risk one or two, the upside could be so much better than not risking, where if it doesn't work out, you have these 8 other things that are going. It's okay, but you got to take a little risk in life. And sometimes that's really, really hard. So I look back at last weekend, and Steph and I, of course, took the risk going down this mountain with a 21-month-old. And like, there's a little risk, she had a helmet on, she was safe, but like, there's a little risk, but we knew she would have so much fun and it would be a memory for us. And I'll send you guys a video because it's pretty funny. And, it's really was such an awesome time. And the risk for us was, of course, there's a little risk going down a mountain with a 21-month-old on a snow tube, but it ended up being fine. Right. And we had so much fun doing it. So, now take that to business. I've taken a lot of risks. I took a lot of risks selling my business in 2014, but I had to take the risk to sell and get rid of my salary because I wasn't happy. Right. I took a risk getting back into entrepreneurship, but I did it because I knew that's what I wanted. Right. And it's paid off tenfold. So, I think it's really important. So what risks besides jumping off a mountain, which I'm still never going to do. Maybe you could convince me to do that, Susie, but I don't know. I don't think so. But
my husband was not a fan. He was please don't.
I'm with John on this one. I think John and I are always, like very often on the same page, he and I. But so what level of risks are you willing to take, and what risks have you taken, and what has it done for you and your business?
I'm definitely someone that is very risk averse, and I would not get up on that mountain, and call me chicken, call me whatever. I don't care. But I would say taking a risk, and Alexa, we were this the other night. We were talking about it, and yeah, it was a risk to invest in myself and my business, and like, what if it doesn't work out? And I was so afraid. I was like, what if I mess up people's stuff and it's going to be horrible? They're going to hate me, and I'm just going to die immediately, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's a risk, but I'm pretty risk averse, I have to say. So I might need to grow a pair of other things.
I think you've taken a risk. I mean, when we met you, Sharon, you were just doing social media, and I'm like, dude, you are so much more than just social media. And not anybody that's doing social media management, not saying like that's, a bad thing, but the talent that she has more talent in her pinky than most people do in their whole bodies. I mean, it's incredible the amount of emotions that she's doing a project for us on insurance, and she somehow made it sound like I want to tear up. Like, I mean, it's like, it's such a boring topic, and she somehow made it sound just like, I'm like, dude, I want to sign up, that is talent. And you took the risk. You changed your whole business model. Like, how is that not risky?
I didn't know what the hell to do. And I was like, Alexa knows. I'm just going to follow her because she seems to know something I don't. Many things.
And I think it worked out.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I've seen so much growth with you, Sharon, since you've been with us. I mean, you definitely took a risk, and for me, I'm actually on the opposite spectrum, right? Like I have an impulsive personality. You tell me, oh, we're going to go jump off a plane today. We're going to go.
You are not impulsive, girl.
Go. I don't think about the consequences, right? Now I have to say, I did take a very big risk, prior to COVID. And this is like the story, right? I mean, everybody out there, there's a lot of people making that shift, right? They're changing careers. They're changing it all together. And I came from, the brick and mortar, like a little bit of e-com, right, in the beauty industry, and just shifted. I mean, I just put a kibosh on it. I sold my brick and mortar, and I just made a whole shift, right? So, now I'm in the marketing PR world, which, yeah, I had knowledge of it before I was doing it, but it's something completely different, right? It really, truly is something like completely different. So it was a learning curve for me. There was fear there, right? And all those roadblocks that I had in the way beginning, came back, right? Because I didn't have that confidence going into it, but I jumped in, right? I had to just do it and kind of get through those roadblocks all over again. But what I noticed was this time around, I got through those roadblocks so much quicker, because I was like, oh, you know what? I was there before, and now you know what? This time around, I'm actually surrounding myself with people that are better than me, right? And I think that's really important to know. Like, get a coach, like get a part of a community, entrepreneurial community. Don't do it alone, because I've seen that I can excel that much quicker.
I think this is so important to highlight. Sharon, I too have seen you grow. And I think the reality of watching you, even as a risk averse person, to say, okay, what if I fail? And one of my favorite quotes is, oh, but darling, what if I fly? What if you fly? And so when we have those moments where and I teach my clients this, you got to play what if on both sides. If you're going to play the what if it goes horrible game, play the what if it goes amazing game, and say it all out loud. What if they don't sign? What if they do? What if this risk of a new coach, a new place of learning, a new program to be part of, costs me money and I don't make it back? What if I triple my revenue like you did? And so I think we can really take charge of that. And back to what Tanya said, the more we do it, the easier it gets the next time, because life is all about calculated risks and being willing to step off the edge and say, what if I fly? So kudos to you for doing that, and just being willing to share that was a hard choice. Risks aren't easy. And I mean, Tanya and I are wired a little more the same, but when you are risk averse, that the power of that is huge. So I want all of our listeners to hear, what if I fly? Get away from the what if I fail.
That was good. So, wow, what an awesome conversation today, ladies. So my takeaway is take the risk and jump off the cliff. That's my takeaway.
Jump scared, baby. Jump scared.
Jump scared. Just do it. So for everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. To gain access to all of our episodes, you can go to our website at thinktankcoaching.com. Think is with a Y. If you're interested in having us help you grow, you could check out our coaching program at passiontoceo.com. And we are so excited that you listened to us today, and we hope to catch you in the next episode. So thank you, ladies, and see you soon.